We got a big week this week for you guys on WrestleMania with a podcast. It's WrestleMania week. We're going to talk about the Bloodline beating down Cody and Seth, CM Punk's shoot interview. I have my first ever interview with a local indie wrestler from Pittsburgh, and lots more. But before we play the intro, just wanted to give you guys an update that my grandmother passed away earlier today, around 2.5 hours ago. And I know it's crazy that I'm doing this podcast, but I know damn well that my grandmother would want me to do that. I know she'd probably say to me, like, what the hell are you worried about me for? Go out there and do your podcast and have fun. So I'm doing it for you. Rest in peace, Grandma. Let's play the intro here, and then we will get into our interview. Let's get started.
Welcome to WrestleMania of the podcast. I'm Dylan Shields. We talk Raw, Smackdown, wrestling news, and some fun top lists. With that being said, ring the bell.
Alrighty here. Like I said, welcome to WrestleMania with a podcast here. And we're going to get started right away with my first ever interview here. He is a local indie wrestler from Pittsburgh. I hope I say this last name right because I'm good friends with him and his brother, Mark Sigafos. All right,
Foos.
There he is. Foos.
There you go.
Almost. So how we doing,
alrighty.
Mark? How we doing?
Good man. Just hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I know obviously the grandmother thing sucks, but WWE is a great way, and wrestling in general is a great way to keep me happy and keep my spirits up. So excited to talk about it. And yeah, perfect time to interview too. WrestleMania week, obviously. So
no, it's pretty exciting.
Really exciting. All right, let's get into the first questions here. So obviously, what is the specific name of the promotion you work for, Mark, and where is it at?
Yeah, so right now I work for a small indie promotion that's based out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania. It's called Ryse Pro Wrestling. It's ran by Brandon Kay and his wife, Christy, who also run a wrestling training school out of that promotion known as the Stronghold Training Academy, which is where I also train.
Oh, nice. Very interesting. And for that promotion, where are your shows mostly in Uniontown? And do you have any shows pretty soon you want to promote or anything coming up? Any big things?
Yeah, so most of the shows are in Uniontown, in the Uniontown Mall, if you know where the old Sears is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
We actually had a show not too long ago that was at the Fayette County fair, and that was a very interesting venue to play. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet that was fun there. It's been a while since I've been to that old Sears.
And then we have a show this month, April 13th. So I believe bell time is 7 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
So,
is it streamed anywhere, like television wise, or is it like only in person?
Well, I do know that they post like the full shows on YouTube after a while. You can watch the live stream on indiewrestling.us if you wanted to watch it live, but for the most part, you'll have to see the action in person.
I'll definitely put that on my promotions to get you guys even more popular. But let's get more into you specifically, Mark. So what is specifically the character / job you portray for this promotion?
Yeah, so right now I'm still training. I haven't debuted yet my wrestling character. So to just help out with everybody else, we do just like security. So wrestling security at an indie show is really just like kind of standing around like the ring somewhere. You help wrestlers get their gear to the back. You know, you help cart some of them out. You can be a part of certain spots too. So it really depends on the day. Yeah, it really depends on the day. You could be a part of a lot of different things, or you could have really not much to do and you just get a free wrestling show. Nice. So either way, it's not bad.
I was about to ask, like, it's like WWE security or major company security, like, are you taking any spots getting beat up by the wrestlers?
I will say there was one spot that I really pushed for on a show. I want to say this was in November-ish. So we have a wrestler at Ryse. His name's PB Smooth. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's like 6'9".
I haven't heard of it, but that's a nice name.
Yeah, he's awesome. And there was a spot at the end where he was gonna just like go berserk, and 2 security members were gonna like rush the ring or whatever. And I was like, please let me take a choke slam. That would be so amazing. And he ended up agreeing to it. And I think that I sold it pretty well. I got some height off of it. Everybody, all the other people that were doing security with me that night were like, man, you sold the hell out of that. I was like, yes, that's what I wanted. But that was like one of the most, that was the biggest spot that I've had thus far. I've had a couple other spots during the shows, but you don't always get a spot kind of deal.
Well, it's nice that you've been at least able to take a spot. But in terms of training, how are the bumps feeling? What is the process you're going through right now in training?
Well, unfortunately, right now I've kind of been taking a break from training just to like focus on school and get through this semester.
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
a college student, you understand. You know how it is. But as for the actual training and stuff, yeah, man, bumps hurt. Like it hurts. I honestly can say that I wasn't super surprised with how it felt. Like it was pretty affirming to my beliefs already. I was like, yeah, that feels pretty much how I expected. But I will tell you, the first day that I ever had to take bumps and stuff, I took 50 in a row. Woo. And let me tell you, man, my neck was killing me the next day.
Oh, I bet.
And like, you think that it's just the bumps that mess you up? No, man. I remember the first day that I learned how to run the ropes and stuff, like the entire like right half of my back was like black and blue just from running the ropes.
Wow.
Because at least indie promotions, the ropes are a lot different than like WWE. Mm-hmm. WWE, they use like bull rope. So it's a little different feeling, whereas like the indies and stuff, it's a like metal cable that they have like I want to say it's almost like a hose, like a plastic hose, and the metal cable runs through it. But yeah, you just have to build up the calluses on your back, get used to taking the bumps, get used to running the ropes and stuff. I'm happy to say that my back only turned black and blue once from hitting the ropes. You kind of get used to it fast, so.
That's nice. I always hear stories on people like YouTubers and stuff first getting into it and how much the first day sucks. I'm pretty sure it's kind of like just a tolerance for pain that you eventually develop, and you just get used to taking those bumps. It's always just first day that's the worst.
The first day for me was actually a tryout. So at the Stronghold Wrestling Academy, they actually had me try out real quick to see, if I was fit enough to join their class. And it just kind of consisted of a lot of like body weight exercises. You just had to do it by a certain time, which I thought was fun. Working out's my hobby, so that wasn't any problem for me at all. But the first actual day in the ring, man, let me tell you, I was so excited. I was so excited to just step foot in a wrestling ring for the first time and just get the feel of being in one.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets you in the feels, man, to be first doing that. But in terms of, I'm just looking at these questions here, character-wise, is there any characters, if you could spoil us, that you're trying to come up with? Or are you just focusing on the training? Or, is there like any type of characters you're coming up with for yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I already have like 90% of my character worked out. It really now just comes down to getting gear made and continuing to train so that I'm match ready. I'm hoping that when I debut, I won't be a dark match, like a match before the show starts. I want to be on the show. I want to be established by the time I actually debut, which that comes with a lot of promoting yourself before you actually debut. So I've been trying to get my social media accounts, and it really just comes down to posting soon. But yeah, so my character, his name is Rubio Bell. His nickname is the Renegade. And I won't go too in depth into the actual inner like workings of the character. You'll just have to wait and see.
Oh,
I will tell you, I have a lot of things in the works. So,
is there by any chance if you could tell me if this is a face or a heel, or is this just like a badass or something? Like,
I will be debuting as a babyface. I will tell you that. But I do have plans in the future to go on a heel run.
Ooh.
So,
See,
but I think that it's a very versatile character that I can work either way.
that's pretty cool. Is it like more yourself that's working on the character, or do you have people that are helping you out, like your brother Troy, or like trainers, anybody helping you with your character, or even other wrestlers from the promotion?
I mean, I've got a lot of advice from other indie wrestlers and from some of the coaches at the Stronghold, but the majority of my character work and the building of this character has been completely on my part. Just been brainstorming. I try and get a lot of inspiration from a lot of different sources of media, whether that be movies, music, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that's how most wrestlers get their characters, based off of like, yeah, famous movies or
And like a lot of
comics.
a lot of like smaller wrestlers, at least that I know, they seem to like get their names from movies, or like they'll take specific names from other things, which I think makes my character interesting because I just came up with it. It wasn't really inspired by anything. It's actually funny because I started using the Rubio Bell name as like my creative character in video games. Like I think it started with like the UFC 3 video game, and then WWE
Nice.
2K19, and then I used it in like a couple other video games. And I was like, man, I like that name. That kind of rolls off the tongue. So like I've had this name on my mind as a wrestling character, I want to say since like 2019.
Wow.
So yeah, man,
Long-term
it's been in the
planning.
works for a while.
I like the Renegade. That's a nice badass nickname.
I've come up
Uh,
with a lot of other nicknames too, so we'll see which one sticks.
I'm hoping the Renegade does, but we'll
I
definitely
also got
see.
another one that's the Flow Show Rubio, which I think is pretty cool.
Yes, that's another good one. You're a good brainstormer. You got good ideas. So what is your personal goal for being a wrestler? Like with your ambitious mind and everything. Like, do you want to go to the top WWE, AEW? Do you want to stick with the indies for like a career? Like, what's your goal?
So I'm not gonna talk down on the indies at all because that's where it all starts, and a lot of people
Absolutely.
they're happy with staying on the indies and being a so-called weekend warrior, and I totally respect that. I understand everybody has different motivations for wanting to be a wrestler, but for me at least, I've always seen myself at the tippy top. I've always seen myself working for WWE or working for AEW or working for one of these major North American promotions. Hell, even traveling. I'm completely open to, going across country and going to different countries to try and get my name out there. But I think my aspirations are work for WWE, hopefully in the near future. I had this conversation with another one of the trainees about like what is our pinnacle, like what has to happen so that we think that we made it. What is making it to you? And for a lot of people, making it might be winning the WWE title at WrestleMania, and that's definitely on my to-do list. That's of course something that I'd love to do. I think for me, my idea of making it, I would love to have my own action figure. I think if I could have an action
Nice.
figure and kids can look at that and be like, I see this guy on TV. I want to own his toy, make him beat all of my other wrestling figures. That would be sick because that's honestly what got me into wrestling. Growing up, it was funny because me and Troy have always liked wrestling, and I didn't know he liked wrestling for a long time. And I kind of started with the wrestling figures and then got into actually watching it and stuff. So I'll say that's probably like my tippy top of making it, having my own action figure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at all the like superhero type wrestlers in the 80s and 90s, like Hulk Hogan with his famous wrestling toys. Like everyone used to have those. I know plenty of people still have like big collections of it. So yeah, that definitely still matters. And I appreciate like, that's a pretty cool like pinnacle for you rather than the typical like, oh, win WWE title or WWE. Like it's a nice
Like I
different
said,
goal.
that's definitely in my plans, my future plans for sure. Wherever wrestling takes me. I will say one thing though that like one of my main inspirations to do this is honestly just to show other people that it is possible, regardless of whatever disadvantages you might have. You know, I'm of a pretty short stature. You know, I stand at 5'6", and for being a wrestler, you know, you think of these like monsters, people 6'5" plus, and all this stuff. But I really just want to be like the living embodiment that it really doesn't matter how big you are. It really just comes down to how much you're willing to sacrifice to learn, and how far you're willing to go in order to become the best that you are. And I think that through this process, I think a lot of people are going to understand the talent that I have, and they're going to see the potential that I have to go far in this.
Yeah, and I think the current wrestling landscape, they might still have, like, they always like to think of the big guys as like the top guys, but they're leaning more into the smaller stature but athletic guys to be future main event guys. It's been happening for a while. Look at Rey Mysterio, for example. I mean, there's
Of
plenty of
course.
legendary, like, shorter statured people. And back to the indie thing, absolutely no disrespect to them. Look at Matt Cardona. He made his name alone, like, as the guy in indie wrestling, and he just made his AEW kind of return for the first time in a while against Adam Copeland. So absolutely, you can make your name off indie wrestling, no doubt. So I can't wait for the journey you're about to take here. See, just a few
Man,
more
I'm so
questions.
excited. I can't wait.
Absolutely. The last question I wanted to ask is if there's any wrestlers on the roster besides yourself that you see like potential being a big name in a
On
promotion.
Ryse?
Yeah.
I think one of the beauties of Ryse is that we have a pretty extensive roster, and a lot of them are reoccurring on like many of their shows. And if we're talking about making it big time, I really like PB. He already had a dark match in AEW.
Ooh.
So I think he could go pretty far. I'm trying to think. Who else do I really like? There's another wrestler by the name Chase Oliver, who's like a high flying guy. He's pretty built. I think, you know, if he could have a pretty in depth character, I think he could go pretty far because he definitely has the athletic talent. I'd like to say myself also. You said beside yourself, but I do genuinely believe that, you know, I have all of the skills necessary to be a successful professional wrestler. So I'll throw myself in that list. But yeah, I mean, as for the other wrestlers on the roster, you know, I feel like it's kind of up to the people to decide who should get those opportunities, who should go further. So,
Well, I can't wait. I'm personally rooting for you so much for all your success. I can't wait for the Renegade. I can't wait for the entrance and theme song. Like,
yeah, dude.
That'll definitely be fun. But I appreciate you coming on here. Feels nice to actually talk to someone else and not just by myself for a half hour. So I appreciate it. And I hope in the future for this podcast that we can have you as a regular guest talking about wrestling rather
Of course,
than
man, I'm down.
this interview. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to get Troy on at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be fun.
We got to get the two brothers on together. Well, appreciate it. Take care. Have a good one. All righty. Once again, thanks to Mark for joining me. Let's get this banner up. All righty here. So, because of that interview, I said it on kind of like the description thing. We're not going to be doing any top 5 lists there because that kind of like takes up a lot of time. But let's get into our PowerPoint here. Whoop. Kind of starting on slide 5 there. Okay. So this is the 4th episode. Can't believe we're already on number 4. For those who don't see, for those who are listening on Spotify, this is the spoiled WrestleMania 40 stage. It's just WrestleMania XL and then just like a typical WrestleMania stage. I hope they can somehow add a bell or something to just like complete the stage, but we'll see. Also, Philly weather is horrible, and they probably had to get the stage set up before it started raining. Let's get started with Lay at the Smack talk here. There wasn't too many huge things, so I won't spend too much time. The big name was Jade Cargill. She arrived to SmackDown, her first like big appearance. her promo was kind of short, basically saying like, it's about damn time I'm here and stuff. But then at the very end, when Damage Control were beating up Bianca and Naomi, she came in for the save and just beat the hell out of them and destroyed them. And we got a 6-woman tag between Bianca, Naomi, and Jade versus Damage Control. So that'll be exciting. I'm happy for Jade that she gets a WrestleMania match. It's kind of weird that it's not just Bianca and Naomi for the tag titles, but I understand we got to have Jade on WrestleMania. So it should be an exciting spectacle to see Jade in her debut actual match at WrestleMania. Logan Paul accosted Kevin Owens and Randy Orton against Pretty Deadly. I didn't see that coming. That's a pretty good win for Pretty Deadly. Logan Paul knocked out KO, and it led to him getting pinned. And then Orton was just chasing Logan Paul, and Logan Paul got in his car, limousine, or whatever, and ran off. And Orton and KO have this alliance for now, but in the triple threat match, it might cost them, or they're eventually gonna fall out. But this has been entertaining, and Logan Paul has just gotten better and better every week with this character. He's just meant to be a heel. Theory and Grayson Waller beat the Street Profits to qualify for WrestleMania. I know a lot of people were disappointed not seeing the Street Profits in the ladder match. It sucks. But as you see, Lashley and the Street Profits versus Cross and AOP is in a Philly street fight that's going to happen. So at least they're on WrestleMania, and at least Lashley and Cross are finally at WrestleMania. It's in a Philly street fight. I don't know why of all damn matches they gave it to this to be the Philly street fight and not like Styles, LA Knight, or Jimmy. That kind of makes no sense. But Theory and Waller, they were never going to miss Mania. They're the perfect heels to be like the whiny little shit heels that always lose, but if every once in a while win. You can't really have them miss Mania, so I understand them qualifying. The Bloodline backstage, Paul Heyman was basically saying Roman was responsible for The Rock's attack on Cody. I wasn't a big fan of this. It kind of felt like a cop-out, like, oh, we got to make Roman mean something again and feel like the final boss. We still got to have Roman feel like the top. So let's just have him, Paul, say, like, Roman was responsible. Like, The Rock doesn't take orders from nobody. He's in his 50s. He's older than Roman, and he's the head of fucking TKO. Like, are you going to tell me he's taking orders from Roman? Like, hell no. It's just a weird cop-out. My favorite moment of SmackDown, LA Knight attacking AJ Styles in disguise. If you can't see, for those who are listening, it kind of gives you Attitude Era vibes. He was like wearing a staff shirt, had like glasses and fake hair and a hat. And Styles' face was so funny when Styles realized, he looked at the big screen, it was him. This has been one of the more underrated feuds. I know people were disappointed that Knight wasn't like in the US title picture, but they've proven me wrong and getting a pretty badass feud out of this. They're doing kind of old school things like the disguise and like the invading of houses. I've really enjoyed this feud, and I still don't know why this doesn't have a stipulation, because it's been a heated rivalry since December. But still excited for the match. And a decent SmackDown overall. You could tell the lack of Roman or Rock was there, but still good. But Raw rundown, that had it all. We'll spend a little more time on that. We'll do. It does start. I was about to say we'll save Roman and Rock for last, but they did kick off Raw, and Rock is again just so damn good, so menacing in his promo. And he showed a bunch of videos. Like, he was like, oh, like, I do feel for the kids that cried when I beat him up last week. And he cuts to like little girls crying when The Rock beat up Cody. And The Rock is just ruthless. He's even roasting little girls for beating up Cody. And then he says, like, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. And then he introduces Roman. And Roman cut a really good promo here. His first good promo. Not his first, but like it was one of his best promos in a while. Because he's kind of just taken back seat. And I'm happy they finally let Roman take the front seat to this. I'm trying to remember what he exactly said. basically thanked Rock for beating up Cody and Seth, saying it's going to be the easiest WrestleMania of my life. And yeah, but then Seth came out and interrupted from the crowd and challenged The Rock or Roman for a match, and the crowd went nuts. All of that just for The Rock to be like, no, you're not getting me or Roman, but you're getting Solo. And the crowd was just so let down by that. But it was still a very good way to kick off Raw. Rhea and Becky had a nice little brawl. Of course, Adam Pearce continues to be one of the worst GMs of all time, trying to I love Pat McAfee calling him a stooge. And also too with McAfee, I love that they're doing these NFL like replays, maybe kind of a tribute to John Madden of just McAfee, kind of like an NFL replay, drawing up something from the marker, being like, oh, this stooge right here, Pierce, and these security guards. And he just circles stuff up and explains stuff in the funniest way. It's so good. But they had an intense brawl. The rivalry's gotten a lot more heated, and I've very much enjoyed it, very much. I can't believe people still thought it was going to be a triple threat or fatal four-way with Liv and Nia. Like, come on, it's the two biggest women stars in the company, but it's just been very good. Ricochet and Ivar, holy shit! Like, talk about a match that doesn't have WrestleMania implications but stole the show. I will tell the truth, I was doing homework, so I was kind of like looking up and down, watching the match. I think Ricochet did some slam or something, like he picked him up. I don't know what he did, but the crowd went nuts. They were just into it, man. Ivar is an underrated heel and an underrated wrestler. He's very good at being the big man, but he's an athletic big man. And Ricochet's clicking a little bit these past few weeks. I just think it's character-wise that he needs to figure out, maybe be more of a badass, but he's been doing pretty well these past few weeks, and Ricochet got the win, and the crowd went nuts. Like I said, for a match that had no Mania implications, way to steal the show. Sammy versus Bronson Reed. I thought Sammy was going to get his win back, but I guess not, because Gunther attacked Chad Gable, and the ref never called for the bell for the DQ, so that was a little bit odd. And before the match, I loved this. They had kind of like a Rocky like montage, which is ironic because it's Philly, of Gunther training Sammy. Like, Sammy's struggling at first to do the workouts. Gunther puts him in a headlock and Sammy taps, and Sammy's like, what the hell are you doing? And Gable is like coaching him up, hyping him up, being like, Gunther isn't going to feel sorry for you and stuff, and just hyping him up. And then Sammy eventually motivates himself for the match. People were saying it might have been cheesy. I personally thought it was good. Sammy plays the underdog babyface role well. And I'm very happy they're keeping Gable in the feud rather than just not having him at WrestleMania. It's a shame that Gable's not in the match. It felt like it could have been better with it being flipped and maybe Sammy training Gable instead and Gable versus Gunther. But nonetheless, it's still a very good segment. But then Gunther attacked Gable and Sammy like showed the heart, kept fighting despite Gunther beating him up. But then Gunther eventually hit him with the title. Another very good segment. I could definitely see Gable turning on Sammy and costing in the match against Gunther. We'll get into our predictions later this week for WrestleMania, but yeah, I mean, still very good stuff between them. Judgment Day won the 8-man tag, really quick match, and then them and Legado del Fantasma had a few backstage segments, which I really liked, of Rhea kind of being pissed off and Damian at Dom for just introducing and bringing the faction into their locker room. I feel like we're starting a Judgment Day maybe fallout, and Dominic might be the cause of it. But I'm liking these two factions. I'm really liking them like interacting with each other. Drew McIntyre, my God, again, what a menacing and amazing little hype montage video. It was basically him like being a pastor in sorts or preacher and praying. And it's just, if me saying it doesn't do it justice, go and watch it. It's like not even 2 minutes. If you can see the video, Drew's like evil smile, him just again being a CM Punk troll, calling Seth cringe Lord Rollins. He basically called out like, oh, you took Jared Leto's the Joker, and basically your whole persona is that. And And Drew's basically saying, I'm going to take the workhorse out back and shoot him down. And then he says, amen, to end it. Give this man the title yesterday. Holy crap, man. That title should not be on Seth for another day. He's been a great champion, but Drew needs to win. I do not want to see Damian cash in and win on Drew. I need to see this heel run as champion from Drew because it has so much damn potential. And I'm just so excited. It's been so good. A blessing in disguise. I obviously feel bad for Punk getting hurt, but it led to the character that we have. So there's always a blessing in disguise, always a diamond in the rough. Oh, I didn't even... Jesus. So at the end of Raw, Seth versus Solo, again, ending in a no contest, which was Bloodline rules, by the way, was a bit weird, but the ending stuff was so good. Jimmy attacked Seth, and Jay attacked Jimmy, then The Rock attacked Jay. It was such a good sequence, too, of events, gave me Attitude Era vibes. And just as The Rock's about to beat us, Seth smiles. And Cody comes out, and the crowd goes ballistic. And Cody's beating the shit out of The Rock, and he's about to rock bottom him through a table. And then Roman comes out, saves The Rock, and they beat up Cody and Seth. There were even CM Punk chants. Like, why is Punk going to help out Seth? And the Bloodline ended up whipping Cody and Seth and beating them down. And I'm so happy that Roman's finally did something impactful in the feud because, like I said, he's been kind of an afterthought these past few weeks. So I'm happy that Roman saved The Rock there. He truly feels like the head of the table again. And just, I'm so excited for hopefully the moment when Roman and Rock get their comeuppance and Cody finishes the story. Just fantastic stuff to end Raw. Very good. One of the best. I never thought they would top last year's Bloodline feud, honestly. They might have damn well done it, or at least very close. The Rock made things a whole lot more interesting. I'm very excited. Ring discoveries here. There isn't much, but it's really impactful. First, we'll get the quick one of John Cena, Stone Cold. Will they return at WrestleMania 40? Because 2 weeks ago when The Rock was beating up Cody, showed a truck of Cena and Stone Cold's faces. And Triple H, his WWE, they don't just do things for coincidences. They give you little hints and pieces. I mean, just look at Bray Wyatt's return with all the hints and pieces and QR codes they did. And it makes me hope, and I'm going to be bold and predict that it is going to happen. I think both of them are going to come out. I don't know if they'll get physical. I hope Stone Cold at least does. It stuns The Rock. But I think it's going to happen. Apparently, they made an offer to Stone Cold and Cena to come at WrestleMania. It's a one-off appearance, so I believe it's going to happen, and I'm going to go nuts when it happens. But the big news we have to talk about is CM Punk's shoot-type interview with Ariel Helwani yesterday. It's the first time he's really had a shoot public interview since all the incidents, and I want to give Ariel Helwani a lot of credit. I know he gets a lot of controversy sometimes for the way he interviews people. I mean, he's a professional journalist. I'm nowhere near one. But he didn't give Punk softball questions. He gave him the questions we wanted to hear, basically about the AEW drama and the fallout with Brawl Out and the All In stuff. And it was interesting. I'm not going to go into full details about it. I mean, the big things I'm going to say is the one thing is when Punk got hurt, tore his tricep at All Out last year, or not last year, 2 years ago, no one talked to him for 6 months in AEW. No one. And he had to pay for surgery and rehab himself. And Punk thought he was done with the company because no one spoke to him. And that just feels weird and unprofessional by them to do that. It's very odd for them to do that. And then another big thing is Tony Khan's big idea was to separate two shows, to separate like Punk and the Elite. And Punk basically said that's never going to work. And he never thought it was going to work even when he came back. He said he came back for his friends. He can do fun stuff with the shows, but he knew it wasn't going to work. And he said Tony Khan is a nice guy, but he's not a boss. And like I said, I'm no journalist here, so my opinion does not matter that much, but I'll give it anyway. I mean, he's not wrong about Tony Khan. He does seem like that guy, like he's a nice dude, wonderful human being, but he doesn't know when to be a boss. You don't have to be insane and evil Vince McMahon and do horrible, shitty things. But you got to have a balance of being tough and being a boss and being a friend. And I feel like Triple H and like Nick Khan and those people, they balance that out good. Like they're respectful people, they're friendly people, but they're tough when they need to be. And I just think Tony Khan isn't. He tried to make both sides like work it out without them having to interact with each other, but it just made no sense. And just the way they just AEW handled him just wasn't right at all. And another thing is him and Hangman Page, when they had that famous promo, they apparently went over their stuff beforehand, and then Hangman kind of completely went off script, and Punk couldn't hear him because the crowd was so loud. And Punk got upset at him, be like, why did you do that backstage? And Hangman was pissed that Punk apparently got Colt Cabana fired. We don't know if that's true or not. But, I mean, originally when all this happened, I'm not sure I was really on one side or the other. It was just an unfortunate situation. At the time, I might have been more on the Elite side just because Punk had a reputation. But now knowing the details, it was unprofessional for Heyman to just go off script like that. It just made no sense. And yeah, it's just a shame all of it happened. And then the final thing I'll talk about is the Jack Perry situation. First of all, at All In, they didn't even pick up Punk. There was no limousine or any car for him. He had to take the subway, and he had like a picture with a fan. And Punk tried to stay positive, being like, "Oh, it's a fun adventure," but I bet he was probably boiling in the first place. And then apparently with this whole real glass stuff, like Punk basically said, "You're really going to do that to a rental car, break a glass? That's going to cause people at the rental places to say, hey, don't give cars to wrestlers because they're going to break them." And Punk said, "You can do that on Dynamite, but you're not going to do it on my show," because he was running Collision at the time. And then Perry did that, and Punk was in his locker room when he found out about it. And then apparently, we don't know if this is all true, but like Punk was like, "What was that?" And Perry's like, "What are you going to do about it?" And Punk said he choked him a little bit. He didn't punch anybody. And that's what caused all of that. And he quit right to Tony Khan, calling him a clown and everything. Samoa Joe and others convinced him to do the match, so he did it. Like I said, not a journalist. My opinion should barely matter, but I'll give my 2 cents. I think there's better ways to handle that stuff. What Jack Perry, Hangman, and the Elite did was bullshit to me and very unprofessional. And that should not happen in the wrestling business. But at the same time, Punk could have handled it a lot better. To me, you have to be the bigger man. You're in your 40s. I mean, this isn't the 1970s and you're Harley Race or Bruiser Brody and you're just going around like just picking a fight with everybody. You can't do that to me. I think you could be the bigger man and try to talk it out. And physical violence is never the answer to settle anything. It just makes things worse. And they had no choice but to fire him. So I think both sides are at a fault here, but I do sympathize with Punk in a way because that was very unprofessional to do that. So from AEW, from leaving him stranded in London to not even paying for a surgery or talking to him for 6 months, and then Tony trying to fix the solution in the worst way. It's just not good. But I'm not going to exactly be like, believe everything Punk says yet. There's still 2 sides to a story. I don't hate Punk. I don't hate the Elite. I don't hate Tony Khan. I don't hate any of them. I wish the best for all of them. This is just a bad situation that happened, and it sucks that it worked out the way it did. I just hope all of them, especially Punk, are like in a better place and are happy, because that's really what matters at the end of the day. But recommend watching the interview if you haven't seen it yet. All right, so because of my grandmother and the tragedy, this stuff is to be determined. I have no clue if this is all going to get canceled because I won't be at WrestleMania. But this is if we're still doing it. If this is on, then on Friday, my friends will be coming up to Millersville in town, and we are going to make a predictions video with my friends Matt and Troy. This is Troy, Mark's brother, and this is Matt, two of my best wrestling friends. And we're going to post a predictions video either this Friday night or early Saturday morning, depends how long it takes for me to edit it. There might be a possible vlog video if we go to WrestleMania releasing on Sunday. It'll depend how much storage is on my phone, but I definitely want to do that. Or either that or I'll just have entrances. And I always love doing this, especially for big shows. I might be making some custom promo packages, especially for the big matches like Cody Roman and the tag match and Seth Drew. I love making those. They take a long time to do, but I enjoy doing it. It's my passion. So keep checking out the YouTube channel because you'll probably see a lot of that. Like I said, it's to be determined right now because of what's been happening, but we'll have to see. This is if this is still on, but I'll keep you guys updated. But that is it for the show. Like I said, I apologize if maybe my mood isn't the greatest because of the whole horrible tragedy. Like I said, I know my grandmother would have wanted me to do this podcast no matter what. And I had a very good time. Like I said to Mark earlier, like wrestling in WWE definitely lifts me up and makes me feel a lot better. Like when I'm not in the best mood. That's why I want you guys, even if you're not wrestling fans listening to this, like get into it. Like it's fun storytelling. And even if you're in a bad mood or just any depressed or just not feeling yourself, it can be a fun way to like for 2 or 3 hours to have fun. But this is it for the episode number 4. I'll keep you guys updated, like I said, on this coming week here. And I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you later.